This is a head cannon
production.
circus production.
Nothing else changes, but yeah, no, and I tried to watch what was it, Shadow and Bone.
Yeah,
I saw the trailer of it, and I was like, oh, that's just pretty tight.
It's a decent show. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's like groundbreaking or anything like that, but it's good.
Right.
I watched the whole thing.
Okay. And you've already seen it, Jarren?
I have not. I keep hearing about it, and a friend recommended it, but I've got, now it's opened up because Falcon and Winter Soldier are done, but I haven't.
I have to watch things.
Yeah, I did miss that void this morning. I woke up at 6 a.m. and was like, oh, I just have Invincible. That's it. That's it. But let's jump right into it. Thank you, guys. Welcome to the N-Word for Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Corny J. Jasen, I'm in the building, and I have I'm gonna go to my one special guest before we go to our regular guest, because last week we made a joke about how I was going to name the show like the B word for blurbs, but I was like, I may have like people from the Caucasus Mountain come onto the show, so I probably should get it something that's universal for all people. So we're going to inaugurate our first Caucasian white guest. Yes. It's one of my best friends here, Jarren. Jarren, say what's up.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm glad to be here. I'm so white that when there's fresh batteries in a camera flash, I get a sunburn. So.
That's pretty white.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, that's real bad white. And then as always, the usual, as we've donned him, the Duke of all geeks or Duke of all nerds, because he didn't want to be the king. He said that's just too high for him, so he's going to be the Duke right now. We got Jasen, my co-host. What's going on, Jasen?
Nothing much. Just living the best life.
Hey, I know that's right. It's a lot of stuff going on in the geek and nerd sphere. But one of the biggest reasons I brought on Jarren is because Jarren listened to the show last week, and he heard your captain list and rankings for Star Trek, and him being a huge Trekkie himself, he was like, that list is bullshit, but he agrees with our Kirk take. But
I have to apologize to you because I left off one captain. I accidentally left off Archer, which is, I would say he's above Kirk, but below everybody else.
Wow, okay.
He's above Pike. Come on.
Right. No, Pike is so like, okay.
We're going to get into that in a minute. Before we start, let's go ahead and Jasen, remind everybody of your list, and then Jaren's going to give his list, and then we'll have the debate. So, Jasen,
what I said last week. All right, what I said. I said Picard, Cisco, Janeway, and then did I go Pike, Suru, and then I kind of skipped over, and then I put everybody else above Kirk. I didn't say Burnham, I didn't say Georgiou, and I didn't say Lorca. So
you had like a double gungo, didn't you? Didn't you have like a mirror one too? That was like you said.
Yeah, Lorca was the mirror. Is the mirror universe captain. Oh, and the Kelvin Kirk and regular Kirk, I lumped them all together into one bad Kirk. But Archer, it's still above Kirk, mostly because he's got Scott Bakula credit. He's got the quantum going for him. But Kirk is definitely last. Picard.
I have your first two swapped. I put Cisco at the top because. All right, there's a lot of things we can say about Picard. He's poised. He's confident. He can tell you exactly how many lights there are. But he like
4 lights.
But Cisco occasionally, and some of probably my favorite things in Trek occurred when Cisco was playing a little bit in the gray area. When he was hunting down Eddington, he straight up ruined a Maquis planet.
Yeah, he committed a war crime.
Eddington out of high. Yeah, damn near a war crime. Definitely a crime against nature. I mean, he made it uninhabitable for 5 years. One of my favorite episodes of DS9 is the one where he brings the Romulans into the war. And the whole thing is told from a unique perspective where he's actually recording his captain's log. And he's recounting what has occurred in the last couple of days. And I just saw such a range there. Like an Avery Brooks, man. And then, so I put Cisco up top because of that. I got Picard. I have Archer next Archer took
Wow.
hold on. Archer took on the Zindi, right? And did work. Then, like, all right, he's a true explorer. Like, you got to see, like, the military aspect of the Federation hadn't been established yet. And when the Makos came on board specifically to, like, deal with the Zindi threat and everything, you saw what it was like when it was just a scientific vessel. Even though it was an exploratory vessel, I mean, it was pure science and exploration. They had weapons for self-defense, but they weren't great. They didn't have real shields. They had to polarize their whole platings. So, I mean, it was a brilliant. I loved seeing those first couple steps out in the galaxy, knowing everything that follows.
Okay, hold on, Jarren. Just stop you right there,
Yeah.
Jason. So why do you have Archer so low, and he has a number 3? What's your reason for him being so low?
This is going to be racist, but he's just another white guy. But also, okay, here's my real reason. I never really gelled with Enterprise as a show. I always don't like prequels because a lot of times they change the lore, they mess things up, and also Enterprise wasn't that good of a show. Like, they didn't even get a real ending. They got a holodeck ending. So, like, the Enterprise crew, they're fun. It's a fun set of episodes, but it's like, it's not really like, and that theme song. Oh, God.
Garbage.
The theme song was
Hot,
terrible.
wet garbage. Yeah. Lower Decks has a better theme song.
Lower Decks has a better theme song.
All right, well, go ahead, Jarren.
I put Archer a lot lower just because, the whole package is not there for me.
Point against Archer, I understand. Like, they fleshed out in the show really well about why he had such an issue with Vulcans, but that I don't want to say racism, but I guess it's speciesism is kind of against what the whole point of the Federation is. So, Granted, the Federation didn't exist yet, and he was there to found it. That's another point in his column. He was there to found the original United Federation of Planets.
Hold on. Just because he was like, yeah, I'm gonna say, hold on, but even just because he was there to found it, because he was like the racist part of the people that wanted to found it, doesn't make it a good point. Like that's like the slave owner that made the Constitution. It was like, that's not a good point.
No. Yeah. That's fair. I'm saying he starting out, his character was a little specious against Vulcans, and again, they explain it, but again, I disagree with that idea. Although they needed to give him some kind of flaw or something to work towards. By the end of the series, obviously, he shed that preconceived notion.
Okay.
His science officer, T'Pol, was very, very Vulcan and extremely Vulcan. And hot, too, which doesn't...
Yeah, that's another thing, man. I get it. Nowadays, transporters will take off any, foreign whatever, but those decontamination sequences...
Like, for some reason she always went down on the planet, and some reason she always had to get
they were like also T'Pol.
Like, yeah, we should send T'Pol. Yeah, she should go. Who else? That's it, right? We don't need to send anybody else.
No guys, no dudes.
I mean, I guess we can send Trip just in case something bad happens.
All right, so go back to so this is number 4 now.
After Archer, number 4, Janeway. I mean, I'll argue this till the day I die. She had the best last episode out of any of the Treks, period, end of story. She faced down the Queen of the Borgs, and she straight took her to task. She tricked her. She was smart. The time travel thing with old Janeway, young Janeway, phenomenal. Well executed, great storytelling. I loved every minute of it. And I mean, it was emotional when they get through and they're like, we're exactly where we thought we'd be. And then a tragic fleet at Earth defending it because they only had like 10 minutes to scramble or whatever. But I mean, that was brilliant. Then I got Pike. Also a point in Janeway's, she never wavered from the founding tenements of the Federation. Like, even when it would have been easier, even when it may have saved a life on her end, I don't want to say she took the hard road, but she took the right path every single time, regardless of, and I was like, she was immovable in that regard. And that 2-parter episode where she ran into the other Federation captain,
that's a great one,
and he hadn't, phenomenal. Then I got Pike. And then, I mean, so you threw in a lot of Discovery after just saying you don't like prequels because they screw up everything. And you're right about
Discovery, though. It starts off as a prequel, but ends up as a sequel. So
right. Which is why no other ship ever had a black alert.
Yeah,
you know, in the spore
or
drive
they just travel throughout space and time. And
I love the way the show is filmed. It's beautiful. I think Saru is trash. His whole race is like, I can feel danger until my shit gets cut off, and then they realize they've been lied to for generation upon generation. So they're not the brightest, fucking crayons in the box. So before I do any of the Discovery captains, and we haven't seen Burnham yet. Burnham gets her her official captain this season, so she might jump up the run because she's been a phenomenal character. She cries a lot, like you said.
She cries a lot.
But I would put Ed Mercer, the captain of the USS Orville, ahead of any of the Discovery captains.
Oh wow,
because that's better Star Trek than Discovery. Fight me on it.
Jason, any rebuttal to that?
I would say the first season of Discovery, you're right, it is terrible. It is not that good. They changed the lore all over the place. Spock suddenly has a black sister out of nowhere that he never talks about. It's weird. Right. But in season 2, they were like, oh crap, we messed up. So let's start fixing stuff. And that's what they did. They started fixing everything. And they ended up, I don't want to, I mean, I guess it's, it's been 3 seasons, spoiler. They end up in the future, so it's finally like a show that makes sense to me because now they have this future kind of technology in a part of the galaxy or part of the timeline we've never seen before, which is why you want to watch Star Trek in the first place. I don't want prequel stuff. I want see what happens later,
Right.
Well, it gets better. And like that crew, the Discovery crew, to me is probably one of the most like cohesive crews there's ever been because every character, even though they don't really get to see them a lot, has their own like sort of set, like sort of personality. They have quirks, they have faults. Unlike, like the Enterprise crews, they're all just like great people. They have assholes in the crew, but they still all work together for the greater good. And it's like, and they all support each other. And it's great to see that. And like a lot of times it brings a tear to my eye when they're patting each other on the back after, surviving a 1,000-year time jump. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so, and they're like, oh, you made it there. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, it's fine. So that's why, like, really it gets better to me.
All right. That Tilly chick is really annoying.
But she's great. That's what's great about her. She's annoying. She annoys you. It's awesome.
It's like, how did you get your commission? Who just nobody was.
You graduate, man. That's all you got to do.
That's true. That is a very true fact.
That person at the bottom of the class at Starfleet still gets ensign, all right?
Yeah.
Facts.
All right.
Facts.
And so then Saru's like, I just call him the worst, and then Kirk is trash. So we agree on the Kirk thing. I just
okay. So you
testosterone. Absolutely.
So you believe that Kirk is the worst captain. And even combined in the Chris Pine Kirk, he's still the worst.
Chris Pine makes it even worse.
Oh, I agree. I just wanted to clarify to make sure we're all on the same page for this.
I guess, and maybe it's a little close mind. I don't know. I want the original writers of either Next Gen or even DS9 or Voyager to be given the amount of money and sets that Discovery has, because I want it to look as good as Discovery, because Discovery looks beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. But I want it feels so foreign compared to all the other Treks. That's why I really enjoy the Orville, because it's got that next gen vibe with contemporary humor, and they've done like the second season of that is phenomenal all the way through. And you see the galaxy shift in ways. And I mean, they've only set it up in one season. And then by season 2, things have all flipped on their head, and it's great storytelling. And the ship is phenomenal.
What's also great about the Orville is that Seth MacFarlane is a huge Star Trek fan. Like he basically on the show, like they were like, oh, you can't do Star Trek. It's like, well, I'll do something similar, and that's what he did. It's like he made something that's pretty much a love letter to the best parts of Star Trek, which is really cool to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, as me not being a Trekkie, I'm more in the Star Wars thing. From what I hear, I'm feeling like Discovery basically just pulled a Last Skywalker and was like, hey, that shit that happened in Last Jedi? It didn't really happen. We're just going to rewrite this and make it all different now.
Those people, they're fired. We got new people.
Right. So I'm glad both franchises like to just, retcon, be like, oh, you know what? We were joking. Or like in what is it, Community, the gas leak.
The gas leak.
Yeah.
Season 5. No.
Right.
That was a gas
We
leak.
don't talk about that. It was just everything was weird that year.
Well, let's go to jump onto something I think we all enjoying so far, and I think I'm pretty much the amateur on this list on this one because both of you guys have already read Invincible. So, season. Episode 8 just dropped, and I know Jarren, you haven't quite got there, right? And Jasen, you've seen it already, but you kind of already know what happened. So, as the guy, I guess, being the eyes for the audience. Also, I didn't say at the beginning of the show, we go full spoilers here. So, if you're listening now, because it's going to be on Sunday and you ain't watched it, that's on you. It's full spoilers. I even put in the titles that we do full spoilers. So don't at me and don't at them about it. Okay, but I felt this one, man. This was the Invincible, like, because usually I watch it at 6 a.m. and I won't say the morning, Jarren. I won't say the morning, but I usually watch it at 6 a.m. And as I was watching this, I was like, it disturbed me. Like, one as a father, but then two as a son. I was like, I feel so bad for Mark. Like, this was pretty much the war's been taken off. We know Omni-Man now is looking like he's the villain. He's preparing Earth for the invasion, and he basically wanted Mark to ride with him because of because your lineage. And Mark was like, nah, man. Like, he was Hulk Hogan. I'm a true American or a true Earthling. It was like, we're not going to do this. Like, I'm going to fight you. And it was almost like the time where one of my good buddies, like, he tried to fight his father. And his father really didn't want to hurt him. But he kept trying to fight his father. And then finally his father had to, like, lay him down. It reminded me of that moment. It was like, okay, Omni-Man's trying to, like, to just kind of nudge him, even though he's nudging him in probably the worst possible way ever by letting him kill random people and destroy stuff. But the point is, he's like, come on, like, see what I'm saying? These people are useless. They don't need to be protected. And finally, he was like, you know what, fuck it. If I can't get you on my side, I'm just going to beat you into submission. It kind of, man, made a little thug tear drop in my eye. Be like, man, if they would have ended the season like this is a great way to end it. Like, Mark getting the brakes beat off of him. Damn it to the end of his life. So again, it was shocking for me because it was like I you don't see that in our spectrum of superhero movies or films and stuff like that. You don't see that type of brutality towards someone that's supposed to be caring about each other, but also just the fact that they were willing to go that far, like calling his mom a pet. And like, yeah, it went hard. Like, Jasen, and Jarren, you don't talk about somebody's mama. Like, that's the one that you don't do. You do not right. And so it just was tough. So I guess, Jasen, what were your thoughts on what you saw from episode 8?
All right. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome. It definitely lived up to the sort of thing that happened in the comic book. It was actually a little bit more brutal on the show than it was in the comic book because you don't really see in the comic book kind of like the sort of human cost of it. They tell you like, oh, like, some 3,000 people died in the fight or whatever, but you don't really see him like actually like going out of his way to like kill people. And that's in the scene where he holds Mark's neck and
my God,
runs and just smashing through, and they're fine, but everybody around them is getting wrecked. That was like one of the most brutal things I've ever seen, and it was insane. It was like,
right.
But I have a nitpick, and like this is what I kind of said from the last show was like in the comic book that is our first sort of like big major moment is him fighting his dad. Like beforehand, it was kind of like this kind of fun, sort of generic superhero story of a superhero, coming into his own, coming into his powers. And it wasn't really all that violent. It wasn't really all that like remarkable other than the fact that it was kind of fun. And then this huge thing where, his dad kills the global Guardians of the Globe and then, beats his ass.
Right.
It's almost like the Game of Thrones moment where you're just like, what? Like you don't know what's going to happen after that. Mm-hmm. And like the fact that it's kind of like happened nowish, they already had Mark get put in the hospital once. He already had him, face some trials and tribulations. It kind of like lessens the impact of him getting his ass beat by his dad because beforehand he didn't get his ass beat.
Right.
He's invincible. There's nobody can put hands on him. And then his dad's like, let me show you. You think you're tough. You ain't shit.
Actually, that's a good point, because all through the animated show, I hate to say it, because I mean, and I gave it a pass because he's a new hero. Mark be getting his ass whooped a lot.
Yeah, Mark getting ass
like he don't win too many fights. Like he usually stumbles into a one-on-one victory, but most of these fights, Mark gets the brakes beat off of him. Like even the one where the guy was rigging up them super robot humanoid shits. Mark, I mean, dude committed suicide. Mark was getting his ass whooped before that. Like, but you go ahead.
As I said, like in the comic book, in those some of the storylines that they're already showing the show happened later after he fought his dad. So it was, understand that he could get his ass kicked. But some of the stuff happened, like you wanted before he got into the fight with his dad, like he fought the Mauler twins and like beat them easily. Like there was no like he solved a couple of smaller crimes and was completely fine. He went out and fought Alan and like and Alan's a tough alien, so he was still fine doing that. And it's not until he fought his dad where you realize, oh shit, people can really get fucked up in this universe.
Well,
and like I kind of wish that in the show, even though I still enjoy the show, I kind of wish that they kind of like set that up more. That maybe done a little slower job of showing that Mark can get hurt before showing that he can get hurt. I mean that's just my little nitpick there.
I wonder if they thought the show wouldn't do well, because I feel like you could have did a whole season of Mark getting his feet wet as a superhero, ended season 1 with Omni-Man killing the Guardians, and then roll into season 2 with that angle going forward of like, well, why would he do that, and spend the whole season trying to figure that out? Like I felt like they just took a lot of different, like what you told me is different storylines, but I feel like they just took a lot and jammed it into this one season as if to be like, hey guys, look, this is a good show. Come on, keep watching. Yeah. You see this? See this? Come on, keep watching. So I know, Jarren, you got up to episode 6. So where you're at, like, what is your vibe compared to the books to what you're seeing now?
I 100% agree with Jason. It seems like it does seem like somebody, like a showrunner or a producer or somebody, kind of looked at everything and said, we need to shrink down the timeline where we see certain things happen because we need it. We need to hook people. I think that was a decision that was not made in the creative room. I think that was made due to money or, worry. Like when they rearranged all of Firefly because they thought they wanted one episode to work better than the other one. And people that don't know art creatives make decisions in a creative space. It never works out. And also way bloodier than the books. Maybe just the movement along with it and all the blood and everything. But yeah, I mean, you got the neck meat that's just kind of chilling, on screen. Like, wild. It's wild. And yeah, I mean, I don't. I keep coming back to it. I'm not watching it day one like other things. Like as soon as it comes out. But I'll let a week or two go by and then I'll grab like 2 or 3 episodes in a row and catch up. So. But yeah, it's all right. It's funny. The funny parts are good. I think they're well written. The timing's well done. Every time it flashes Invincible on the screen instead of him saying his name, I'm like,
that's awesome. That's so dope. I do enjoy that. Well, I know you've mentioned Firefly, and I don't know if he's still attached to this. I know he was helping to produce this, and I know he directed the first episode because I watched the first episode. It was like, oh, for real? So we did all 3. Okay. Because I know the first episode looked amazing, and I was like, who did this? So if anybody doesn't know, the Nevers, and Joss Whedon is attached to that. I guess he's producing, and I guess he directed the first 3 episodes, and I know it's a huge controversy about him, and I'm not even going to get into it. It's a controversy with him. Do your Googles, and I'm pretty sure if you're watching the show, you probably already know about it. If not, do your Googles, because we're not even going to touch that part of it. We're just going to just keep it to the show. So with that being said, the Nevers, Jason, you're the one that put me onto this, so I had to go binge it. There's 3 episodes deep right now, and I'll admit I'm hooked. And
I didn't get you on this.
Oh no, you mentioned it, but like Jason was like, he's like, I've been watching this. You got to watch it. So I'm like, I will admit, because when I first watched it, I didn't know Joss Whedon was attached, and I literally got a bunch of Firefly, Buffy. I got all the vibes of the Joss Whedon thing, even the jokes.
Strong women. Sure.
Well, yeah. And so What I was enjoying, but I want to make this one point about Joss Whedon. His comedy works way better for TV than it does for movies. Because those jokes and those witty banter and all that stuff works a lot better rather than making like an ADHD Flash or like even in the Avengers, well, more Age of Ultron. Some of those jokes don't land very well, but for TV, those jokes land very well, which I'll give him credit for that. But no, The Nevers, basically, for people who don't know, it's on HBO Max or HBO about a group of women who have developed powers. And I guess in this mythology, some of the men have some powers. A few of them do. But my one thought on this when I watched it after the second episode was, Joss Whedon just took the end of Buffy season 7 and just made a whole show based off of that. For people who watch Buffy, it was like unlocking the potentials, and then all the potential Slayers got Slayer powers. And it was like, oh, now we have this Slayer army. It pretty much Joss Whedon was like, you know what? That'd be a great idea for a show. What if all these women all of a sudden got these powers randomly, and now we're a threat to society? And there we go. And so, but I do appreciate the show. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. So I'll start with Jarren, then we'll go to Jasen. What do you think, Jarren?
It scratched my X-Men itch. Phenomenal. The betrayal of the girl in the second episode that can levitate things brought me back to the first X-Men, the Bryan Singer X-Men, where Iceman's betrayed by his own brother, like pointed out to the cops. You know, same vibes, same. God. The main character is phenomenal top to bottom. I love her Irish partner with Penance, Miss Bear. Don't think I was sleeping on that line in the second episode when, you know, Lady Wheels was telling her brother that, listen, we can't have a touched in the family, let alone an Irish.
Right. I thought I was going to text you. I was like, but I'm going to talk to him later today.
Probably bad. I was like, ooh,
like, you got to pick one or the other.
Right.
And I mean, I don't want to jump all the way to the end right now, but that walking on water fight sequence from this last episode is the best fight sequence I've seen in superpowered movies, TV, anything ever. It is sitting at the top of my list. It is phenomenal. So phenomenal that if you kept watching after the credits, they had like a 10-minute VFX breakdown of how they did it, and it's well worth the watch.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So good. The way he moves on the water is unique, and they were like, it didn't want it to feel like he was walking on a flat plane, so he walks almost like he's on a springboard, and it ripples the water out and everything. It was just phenomenal from top to bottom. Absolutely loved it. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm man enough to admit when Mary got shot, I lost it. I stood up and I was like, this is stupid.
Just to put in context that moment, I literally text Jasen and goes, God damn, the Nevers first 3 episodes is ridiculous. I'm hooked. It was right after Mary got shot. I was like, it's over. I'm hooked. I gotta see this through now. I can't leave it.
Oh, yeah.
And then he got shot by the dude who's got blood bullets. His bullets are blood, or his blood.
Yeah.
It's
I thought Mundy was going to go ham. He shot the dude in the face, but I thought it was going to be more. I don't know. Oof. So Mundy's gay? Is that what we're getting from their conversation prior to that? Straight up, she was like, "I know you would never try it, and I mean because you're a gentleman, not for the other reason."
Right.
And he's hanging out with that Swan dude.
And he did mention like, it was one time and I was drunk, and he was like, the other times you weren't drunk. So
that's the first time you were drunk or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think,
I feel like
Jason,
he
man?
seems to really. I mean, I don't. He's not gay. He's bisexual because he seems to really care for Mary as well. So I mean, we gotta throw in the proper pronouns for people. Proper, you know, you might enjoy, and it's also Victorian England, so it's like. Right. You know, you couldn't just be like, I love everybody, you know, it's fine. You know, you had to pick your lane.
So what do you think, Jasen? What's your thoughts on the Nevers?
I am loving it too. You know, I was kind of apprehensive because it was being produced by Joss Whedon, but then I heard that he was fired halfway through the season. So, but the first 3 episodes, like the dude knows what he's doing. Like you can't say he doesn't have talent and he's not. He knows what he's doing, and he did a great job setting this world up, setting the characters up. And as I said, the witty banter is just on point. It's like prime Buffy right here with these characters, and they're all just
don't say that. Jarren hates Buffy. He thinks Buffy is one of the worst shows ever. Don't worry, we'll argue that another day.
Firefly fan?
Thank you.
It's a question of camp versus legitimate drama.
I'm a huge Firefly fan. I can't even say it. Firefly fan. But I'm also a huge Buffy fan. I liked a lot of Joss Whedon's work. And this is just like one of those things. I hope that whoever has taken over can kind of emulate his style and emulate his ability to write convincing and compelling characters. So we shall see as progress, because I believe like the first 3 episodes were completely 100% like his, and after that he was axed. So everything following these next few episodes will be someone else who was running the show. So hopefully they'll be able to do it. But I like the world. I'm always a big fan of like Victorian England era. It's like a fun time to do things. I mean, like there's a whole genre of fantasy that just takes place in like Victorian-esque, such settings. Yeah. So like it's fun. It's a fun show. At first, like, kind of the effects were kind of a little bit wonky, especially in the first episode. But like, in the next 2, they brought it up to another level. Like, especially as you said, that water fight, I was like, how they do that? And like, I studied, special effects in college. That was my major. And I was like, oh my God, like how they do that. And so that was like a really cool fight scene. Something that I personally haven't seen in ever. Someone standing on water while someone's swimming under them. That was amazing fight scene.
And even just being amazing, like you said, how it's shot, because there was a lot of tension building in that fight. Like, one, how she was going to escape this, but then 2, like what are you going to do with this? Like, this dude's a monster. Like, it was, because it's not just her
fighting him. She's also fighting, not drowning. She's, fighting the current of the river, and this guy's just walking around, like, picking his shots, like, oh, there you are, let me come in. And so, like, there's a lot of different levels going on in that scene, and it was great. It was very compelling to see and to watch. So
I made a note in the first episode when you first meet Nick Frost's Beggar King. Beginning of the second episode, he mentions that guy and he goes, "Can't get this boy into a bath," and it's a throwaway line.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Wow, yeah, that's really good.
Like, that dude, like I don't know, like how he does it. Like, he has always been a favorite of mine. Like, I've liked him since he's on Spaced with Simon Pegg. So like, he's always been a favorite of mine, and like he plays like great, like badass villains. Like, he does really well as the cockney, grimy dude, and I like seeing him as that. Like, I wish, and like a buddy of mine, his idea first, but I'll repeat it. I wish he would have been cast as the Penguin, because like he can do like that sort of like grimy criminal underworld, badass, intimidating dude, and he would have been like a perfect Penguin in my mind. And this show kind of like, it kind of like makes it, even more evident to me, because it's just like he essentially is that character without the waddle and the gimmick. But
he's not gonna go full Danny DeVito, basically. Biting people's noses off and shit.
Everything Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright's probably my favorite, if not my second favorite director. So, and I mean, obviously Nick Frost and Simon Pegg run together in all of Edgar Wright's stuff for the most part. So yeah, I mean, I've always had
we got to have the conversation, because me and you have argued this, and you and Alex have argued this. We're going to bring Jasen in for this one. Is the Simon Pegg movies, are they officially a trilogy or not?
Well, the director of the 3 movies thinks that they're a trilogy, so therefore I have to lean in the creative spirit and say that it's a trilogy. However, they do not connect to each other whatsoever. They are 3 different movies. But the guy who created them and the people who worked in them say they're a trilogy, so therefore they are a trilogy.
Clarify, what's the trilogy called?
The Cornetto trilogy.
And why is it called that?
Because the little things they eat in England, like little ice cream sandwiches.
They eat one of those ice cream things in every one of the movies.
Yeah, that's so. I guess that's connective tissue.
So what we're saying is that this is a Men in Black style trilogy where that universe is inside these Cornetto boxes in that trilogy. Like the locker, what was it? The locker scene at the end of Men in Black was the whole universe in it. Yes, the whole universe is in those.
Marble on the dog.
Right. Again, that was my argument. It's a trilogy because the director said it's a trilogy.
Look,
Jarren, your rebuttal is
it's not a trilogy because there's different people and the same actors playing completely different people in completely different circumstances. It's not a trilogy.
Like, growing up in high school, you go to AP English and they teach you and they make you read the books and they say, this is what the author meant. And you go, is this really what the author meant? And, I always have to ask myself the questions like, is this really what he intended to say? And when they actually say, yes, this is what I intended to say, then you go, okay, that's what it is. You can't interpret it if that's what the author meant it to be.
I think he says it like to be cheeky. I don't think he ever is serious when he says it.
just in respect, if that is a universe, what fucked up universe is that you got zombies, occultists, and robot aliens? It is a fucked up universe to live in.
All they're missing is a wizard.
Right?
The big three.
Right.
The big three.
Wizards is no wizards.
I mean, the only world that didn't end was Hot Fuzz. They just fought the cultists and they win. It
just went on,
yeah.
Shaun of the Dead. They have zombies now. That's a thing. I wouldn't want to live in that world. And the world's in. The world ends.
Yeah. So even more making it a trilogy because the last one's world's in and the world ends. So in the trilogy, nice. But okay, I know we just sidetracked there for a minute because me and Jarren and Alex, we have these kind of crazy geek conversations all the time, and I'm always like, look, again, director, if he said it's a trilogy, it's a trilogy. I don't care. Maybe they all are just, I guess, triple gangers. Maybe he's inventing a new thing, a triple ganger.
You gotta also say, like Quentin Tarantino thinks all his movies are they take place in the same universe too. Yeah. So, but some are movies in his universe, while some are actual occurrences in this universe. So we don't. I mean, it's up to the creator to define how his work connects to each other.
Actually, I heard something like, is it Django in Tarantino's movie the ancestor of I think Sam Jackson's character in Pulp Fiction or something weird like that connects them. Yeah. It's that whole it's like that Pixar thing where everybody connects the Pixar movies and says they're in different time in order to make it the Pixar theory. So yes, I feel like the same way Tarantino, after the 6th movie was like, hold on. Yeah, these are in the same universe. How about that? And now people look for all the Disney Apple cigarettes. Yeah, I think Disney
too, right? Like the storm in The Little Mermaid is what Elsa's parents in Frozen die during. The one of their boats gets got there.
Right.
So, they all are supposed to tangentially, except for The Lion King. I think the creator of The Lion King at one point said, I don't think there's any humans in this world.
That's true. They are.
Look, they're talking lions. The planet's theirs. They're out there, lions talking and communicating. I submit to you, lion. This is
very British African animals.
Right. All right, well, let's go into another. Speaking of the Lion King, and then I feel like Lion King was the first real Black Disney movie. I don't care what anybody says. Just because it was set in Africa, we got to take the W. Especially at the time, we didn't have no other Black people in Disney, so it was take the W. Let's. Oh no, we didn't have the Jim Crows, but I don't think we want to claim them
because they're all white.
Yeah.
The people that played them were all white anyway, so that's that.
Yeah. Were they? Oh man.
Oh yeah, you know that. Come on, it's Disney. So we finally got something Netflix gave. I ain't gonna say they threw us a bone, but they kind of decided to give us something for the culture. So we got Yasuke on Netflix, which about the Black Samurai. Which, oddly enough, when I did some research on this one, because I decided to do some stuff besides just watch it. The story of Yasuke is actually supposedly a true story. And their legend about a Black samurai. I'm going to say first and foremost, Netflix, please keep putting stuff out that is Black with Black-centric characters. Don't do this shit no more. I'm just going on. Don't do this shit no more.
You don't have nice things to say about cultural appropriation in the series?
Look, so I'm gonna start with one. Okay, cool. You gonna give us this backstory of his he's got PTSD from his time being the Black Samurai and all that. I'm more interested in that story than the bullshit they gave us. I want to know how he rose up through the ranks and why was he a slave with that merchant. Like, I want to know about all that shit before I find out 1 ounce about this future. It seemed like from the time he stopped being a samurai to the time this world came on, it was like the whole world had fucking changed on him. Like, we got fucking werewolves and bear wolves and
bear
robots. Like, no, not mechs, but robots. Like,
literal, legit robots. Yeah.
It was almost like kind of like we talked about with Invincible. And they're like, oh, we don't know if this is going to be renewed, so let's just get to the meat of it. This felt like to me, they were like, hey, look, you think people want to hear about a black samurai, a former slave? Yes! Yeah, you're right. Let's throw some fucking mutants in there and shamans and secret powers for this. I guess she's supposed to be an Asian girl. Like, they just like, well, fuck it, we gonna take a chance and just do a little bit of that story in there, but we're just gonna make up some random shit and go with it.
She's got a bad case of Avatar state tiredness too.
Oh my god!
Always going in and out of the Avatar state and then having to take a nap.
No, she reminded me from Storm in the '90s X-Men. Remember Storm in the '90s X-Men would do one fucking storm and be like, yeah. Be like,
oh, like, no, I'm good. Finish up, Cyclops. I'm going to take a nap.
She reminded me of Storm. Like, Brian Powers, come on. I'm like, all right, this chick's about to go to sleep. So Lakeith Stanfield, I mean, say what you want to say about the dude. I did buy into him as voicing Yasuke. I thought he did a really good job. I thought he was probably the only person that did well in all of the voice acting. All the rest of it, man, you can keep that. The fight scenes was okay. Nothing I will write home about. Anything I haven't seen in better anime, but it wasn't for me. I just felt like they put that in to get me and Jasen to watch it and then be like, oh, because, black people, you guys are only partially in the anime, so you won't find out that this is like bullshit anime. Like, and that's what it felt. It felt like some bullshit cash-in anime for me. I do not recommend seeing this shit. I mean, if it's some good shit in there, you could probably YouTube the action scenes. Fuck that shit, man. I'd rather just hear about the Black Samurai story and give me that than all this bullshit you gave me, man. Fuck it. What do you think, Jasen?
I only watched the first episode, but I 100% agree with you. Like, I already knew about the story. I think I heard about this earlier this year or maybe late last year about, there actually being a black samurai in Japan. And like, I read up on it a little bit, and it's actually like this really interesting story about this slave that comes to Japan. Is like basically the shogun of the time buys his freedom. Is like, this guy's crazy. And then he becomes a legit samurai, like that other samurai are like in awe of. Like, that's an amazing story. Like, he becomes a well-respected, like, he's like the right-hand man of the shogun. Mm-hmm. And like, there was one point where like people were so excited to see him, like they had to like, basically like send people home. Like, they basically had to give people a curfew because people are just wanting to go see this guy because he was just that great of a celebrity to them. And like, just to see this show just like take maybe the little kernel of the story that is already interesting in itself and just like completely animate it, and it was just really disappointing to me. It's like, this story by itself is interesting. We don't need talking robots or magical little girls or Russian werebears. We just need like the story that is there, because that there's already drama and conflict in a black guy being in feudal Japan when they're like, Japan has been like an isolationist nation. Like, that story is amazing. Like, right. A samurai. Like, it's like, come on, like, it writes itself. So like,
easy money.
I'm not a big fan of anime. I used to be back in the day, back when it wasn't cool. Now it's cool, and I'm like, you guys don't know. Technically, that's not anime, but I'm not gonna.
That's fair. That's right.
I love me some Avatar, but technically, it's not. Me too. So I watched it. I tried to give this show my good, honest college try, and after the first episode, I'm like, I don't need to watch this no more. Like, they took something that could have been like special and unique, and just been like, and just jizzed all over it. I'm sorry. That's
facts. But it's funny. When I heard about after I was doing my research on it, so before rest in peace, Chadwick died, they were in talks of doing a live action version of that story with Chadwick Boseman being Yasuke, which I thought would have been amazing if they actually would have went through with that. They can still do it. Like, it's not shouldn't be off the table.
It'd be better than
Really?
Well, I like The Last Samurai, so but
Oh yeah, Last Samurai.
it would be better than that.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Idris Elba. I'd love to see Idris Elba do that.
And this is the cool thing about the story is because he's this African guy. He was like 6'5" in a time when most Japanese people were like 5'3" or something like crazy.
Yeah.
Like he towered over people, but it wasn't just his physical prowess that made him such a great samurai. Because you can't just be strong to be a samurai. You got to be smart and intelligent. And he spoke fluent Japanese by the time he got there. Like he had this amazing story, and you had decided that it was be better with robots.
I will tell it that like they kept those things in, but they didn't emphasize it. They kept in that he spoke Japanese. They kept in how everybody kept referring to his height and his skin naturally. Yeah. Like so, they did keep that stuff in, but they didn't really emphasize like why that wasn't important, unless you, like you said, the side story. But in that story itself, they kind of just kept that in to be like, oh, for the people they may understand this. But Jarren, you watched the whole series. What did you think?
Mechs in feudal Japan. The fuck? Also, oh damn, they tried to wash the black off him. And then bought him. I don't know if it came across that they were buying his freedom. He was like, also, I'll take that guy. So it sounded like he straight up.
It's true.
Bought, dude.
That is true. Yeah, I feel like he just bought a slave. Yep.
The best character in the whole thing for me was the robot dude. Oh shit, it's a black guy. Are you two related? Lost my shit.
I did laugh at that line. Like,
what's funny? It was so PC. They were like, hey, we can't get somebody that's white to say this, but the robot. Yeah, the robot can say whatever.
Because growing up in rural Georgia or suburban Georgia, that happens a lot. Like, oh, there's another black guy. Y'all know each other? Like, I don't know him.
Hold on, Jason. You didn't get the directory of every black person in the world?
Yeah,
you didn't get that list when you were. Oh, okay, yeah. I stole mine away too, man. I got tired of Holly Berry calling me all the time, so I was like, "Look,
black card just in case you need it."
Right. But go ahead, Jarren.
I didn't like how a little bit of liquor spilled on the mech and he shorted out, even though the first time we see him, he's fighting on top of a fucking frozen river. Yep. That seems stupid.
Right.
I think one of the best quotes, first of all, I'm not a fan of organized religion, so I love it when a priest is the bad guy, because I'm like, yep, that seems right. When he breaks out his brass knuckles and then Yasuke's response is, because he's like, this is God about to teach you a lesson, and he fucking just racks him across the jaw. He's like, your God punches like an old woman. I was like,
beautiful.
Oh shit, that's phenomenal. He getting got by a crucifix. Thought that was a perfect way to go for him. And you're my Star Trek guy. And if you finish out the series, at some point they get into an astral plane, and it looks exactly like the Badlands between Maquis space and the Federation space. It's got the vertical tubes of storm with clouds on the bottom and the top. It's straight up the Badlands. It's just a Technicolor version of it.
They just borrowed it.
Yeah, and they refer to that Russian chick as a wolf twice. Somebody should have told the artists she was a wolf and not a bear.
Because I felt like,
because she definitely was drawn like
a bear.
Yeah. Russian bear, it makes sense, but she tracks like a wolf. I don't know if ursine animals have that kind of tracking ability, but she tracks like a wolf. So, and another character said, I saw a giant wolf in the woods, referring to her at some point. So I'm like, what is she? It's definitely a bear, but because they should have a tail.
Yeah.
One. Short face. I mean, it's a bear, but.
Fun fact that I learned on TikTok: a polar bear can stalk its prey up to 6 miles, so they do have a exceptional ability.
Wow. Okay.
TikTok.
Right. Fair enough. I will give her credit too that like whenever she transformed, her clothes stayed on, which was whatever fabric they made for her, like it worked because it didn't shred like the Hulk or like most werewolf movies. The clothes get shredded and they're like naked when they transform. So I don't know if that was a decision because it was maybe it could. This definitely wasn't for kids. I don't know if that was a decision made for that or it was just like, oh, this would be cool because we got robots. So why not have a Mr. Fantastic suit as well? be involved in this. So, right.
It's feudal Japan. Anything can happen.
yeah, evidently, yes.
Technology is limitless.
Yeah.
It's like takes place in Wakanda.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what happens at the end. Did you see at the end? The very end, I'm like, oh, did motherfucking Yasuke make it to Wakanda? Because he gets overlooks this beautiful new luscious green area, and I'm like, when he went back to Africa, like what? You didn't give any context of what he was doing. Now it's just he walked and found this good area, and it was like,
Jason, you're gone. You're dead.
You're muted.
You're muted. I think your mic died.
There you go. Yep.
My bad.
Yes.
Oh yeah, but I'm like, you just like Thanos is just like, oh, I'm gonna hang it up and became a farmer after this. Like I wouldn't recommend it. I don't know about you, Jarren. Would you recommend this or?
No. It's 3 hours you can spend somewhere else.
I agree, 100%.
I like that it was only 6 episodes and they're only 30 minutes pop. So you texted me today saying, hey, we're going to talk about it. And as I was able to squeeze that in today as a result, because it wasn't, but it had some good points. Like I said, I like the robot. I think his character is the most fun. He gives no fucks. He's not PC. Oh, look, I'm black, essentially.
right. Well, go ahead, Jason.
I just hope it's popular enough that Hollywood can say this is a viable story and that they can actually make like a live action story about this actual thing that happened, and give us a story about that rather than this crappy anime. So hopefully it does well enough that somebody will be like, oh, we can just take the story and make a movie out of it, and then they'll fuck it up obviously, but at least they'll try.
Fingers crossed. We can only hope. Speaking of something that's been fucked up by people writing it and bad writers, let's talk about the DCU. So the DC movie universe, which has probably gotten the most
DCU.
Yeah, I like that. We're going to follow that from the rest of the show, the DCU. So they probably got the most heat probably of any movie franchise or universal movie kind of thing going on. And so we were decided to take a moment to say, if we had to stop right here, and this means Zack Snyder's Justice League is not included. We're going with the Justice League. That's still being canon. How could you remake it going forward to make the right to ship? So I'm going to start with Jason and then Jarren, and then we'll wrap this up and see what ideas will come up with. So Jason, if you had to use the Justice League as the last point of the movie, how do you write this ship?
By ignoring everything that happened before, rebooting everything. No, well, here's the thing for me is like DC has had 80 years of characters. We don't need origin stories. We don't need come together stories. We just need movies with these characters in it, and the characters hopefully being somewhat like the characters that we know and love, right? Like, so we don't need like another, like, I don't need like a Flash origin movie. I don't need a Cyborg origin movie. I don't want to see Batman's parents get shot for the 3,000th time. Like, give me Dick Grayson. Give me Booster Gold. Give me a Green Arrow movie. Give me John freaking Stewart, for crying out loud. Like, like I just read something today that they were making an HBO show starring I can't remember the actor's name, but some generic white guy, and they're doing Guy Gardner, and I'm like, Guy Gardner's fun, but like it's 2021. Like, you have such a breadth of characters. You have such a well to pull from, and you're always picking up the blandest aspects of your universe. Like, they were talking about doing like a Trench movie. Like, who cares about the Trench? I don't care about like I don't care about that. Like, give me like a Bat Family movie. Give me like actual Dick Grayson and Tim Drake and the Red Hood, and like them teaming up to fight the Court of Owls or something like that. I don't know. It's like, give me like these characters that you already have, that you've already written for, and just make movies with them in it. You don't need to be fancy. Just do like HK films with Red Hood, shooting people. I don't know. It's actually quite simple. Like, one of the best movies best superhero movies that has come out in the last 10 years, in my opinion, is Dread with Carl Urban, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great movie. It does not expand the universe whatsoever, does not give us anything about Judge Dredd as a person, doesn't do anything besides do Judge Dredd and a day in the life of him. And he just kills people and does awesome action shit and says, I am the law, really coolly. And that's it. And that's awesome.
That whole movie takes place in that one building.
In that one building.
Yeah, you get at the beginning, you get something outside of it for maybe 15 minutes, and then we're at that building, and that's it.
Yeah,
right.
And it was amazing. It was great. It was phenomenal. It will never happen again because it didn't make no money. But still, Warner Brothers can do stuff like that. They can make movies. I mean, like right now, they're literally giving them away for free. So, like, just give me a $50 million movie that stars Booster Gold or let's go with freaking Mr. Terrific, somebody like that, something like that's, not, this giant, world anything. This is day in the life of the superhero. And you can just put in references to connect it to other things. Like the thing that they don't realize is that Iron Man, the first Iron Man, they didn't, talk about all the other superheroes the first time. It was like the last, after the movie was done, then they brought in Sam Jackson, like, hey, there might be other people out there. And that was it.
Right.
Like, you don't have to do stuff like that. You can be like, oh, like, as Dick Grayson's fighting in Gotham, you might, hint at Superman being around or hint that, Green Lantern's around. You don't have to, like, set these things up in a way that you have to fully explain it because we've already been with these characters for almost a century. So we don't need to be like spoon-fed this stuff anymore. Just make the content. And like they've done that before. They made like their animated movies are phenomenal because they just make the content.
Perfect.
Right?
Yes.
Like that's all they have to do. Just in fact, you don't even have to do anything to. Just take your animated movies and make them live action and call it a day. Just do that, and I'll be happy, and you'll get my money from you. That's it.
All right, so Jarren, how do you fix it?
I think they're going the right direction. They clearly don't have the patience or the talent to do what Marvel's doing. I think the direction they're going now, where a director can come up with a script that they approve using any one of their superheroes, they can cast it. They don't have to worry about what happened before, what happened prior. They don't have to worry about casting a specific actor to continually play the same character over and over again. And that director is free upon approval to just make a movie, like you said, kind of like slice of life in that particular character. If they have a good story and the character fits that story, then yeah, absolutely. I didn't like the Joker because it could have just been any psychopath that happened to like clowns. No reason for it to be the Joker in that whole entire movie. But if they take Batman,
I will push back a little bit on the Joker one, only slightly. So, because they framed the Joker as like a what if thing, like it wasn't supposed to be part of any continuity; it was supposed to be an individual.
Sure.
What they did with the Joker is what I wish the Star Wars stories would have done with the Star Wars universe, where you could have taken just a random, like it doesn't have to be any of the Skywalkers, it don't got to be any Boba Fett. It's just a random dude in the universe doing some shit. Like even the movie Solo. If it doesn't about Han Solo, it's just about a random like theft in the universe, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
It's a heist movie and it works. So when I look at the Joker, I'm like, oh, okay, like this is what I wanted from the Star Wars universe, where if you're gonna give me these what if kind of moments, then yeah, like make it just a good story. Because you can make an argument the Dark Knight don't need Batman or the Joker. You can make that a crime thriller and it works almost the same goddamn way. The best superhero movies are usually the movies where you don't need the superheroes. It's the drama and the story that sets it up. The superheroes is just the extra buy-in for us. Like, we love Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier works without having to be Cap and Bucky. I mean, like, the characters itself, it can work the same way. Just maybe the 100-year thing would be a little hard to figure out for human beings, but you can figure out a way to make it more Martin. like
political.
It's essentially like the Winter Soldier's like GoldenEye, your partner from a long time ago is coming back and haunting you, and you're like, oh shit, now what am I gonna do about it? That's.
But I've always pushed back on the Joker. But go ahead, Jarren.
Then have Batman in it, even for a little bit. Otherwise,
that's one of my biggest pet peeves about movies as well. Like, you can't give me Morbius without Spider-Man. Like, you can't give me Venom without Catwoman without Batman. Like, you can make a movie about Catwoman, that's fine, but you gotta like say Batman's around. You know?
Right. Like the Gotham TV show. Hey guys, let me pitch you a show. It's going to be a Batman universe, but without Batman.
And we're going to keep changing to a better show every single episode. You're going to be like, why isn't this taking place 20 years in the future when they're actually
Right.
Make him new Batman. Make him still figuring it out. Don't make him a kid. I'm just
or just keep every single other character out of it and make it just a shitty Gotham crime procedural. Like some people think like 7 is Gotham before Batman became Batman. You know,
nice.
A shitty town. You know, you can do some minor like characters like, you know, your gangsters like the Falcones and what have yous. But you know, don't give me like the Penguin or the Joker before Batman hits puberty. Like, that doesn't make any damn sense. You know?
It does not. I have to say, not a big Star Wars fan. Absolutely love The Mandalorian, and it took them more than a season for us to bump into a Jedi.
Yeah, and they couldn't even postpone that long enough to make it worth it. Yeah,
and it was phenomenal. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and then what's her face comes in as Ahsoka. Yeah, she knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. Clearly they needed to call the Marvel guys on the facial de-aging thing for Hamill because that's tragic. My boys at Corridor Digital redid the facial animation, did a better job.
Way better job.
Like training an AI with old pictures of Mark Hamill. But yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's a galaxy. There's got to be more stories out there that don't involve the fucking Skywalkers.
And that also goes back to the point, especially The Mandalorian, is like, let people who are fans of the genre, let people who are talented as filmmakers and as storytellers take characters and do fun things with them.
Right.
And basically, for the most part, get out their way. That's basically what happened with The Mandalorian. Is like they let Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau just do stuff and have fun because it was like a TV show. They didn't give a shit about a TV show, and it became super, super awesome. Whereas in the main timeline, they're like put all their fingers in. It's got to be, you've got to sell toys, and it's got to be diverse, and it's got to be all these other things. And after a while, it just becomes a mess. And that's exactly what happened with the DC universe. We got to sell $1 million. We got to sell $1 billion. Got to be better than Marvel, and it's just a mess. And rather than just letting even though I probably would never pick Zack Snyder to run the universe because, in my opinion, he does not understand the characters he's given. He does great fight scenes and does great action, but like character work is not his forte. Don't get me wrong; he's doing it. I'm not. Obviously, he's better at it than I am, but in my humble opinion, he does not do character work. Even though Ben Affleck is probably the best Batman I ever. So
absolutely 100.
That is not a hot take. That is a great take, and I'm glad we got you all. And I will. Anybody who disagrees with me is obviously Batman. If you think that Ben Affleck's not the best Batman,
he's awesome at it. He's great.
I mean,
he shouldn't be in there killing people though. That's all the thing.
He's got a lot of guns.
Yeah,
but only Kevin Conroy is the only one we would take. But he was the voice, not the man in the suit. So, but yeah, Jarren, go ahead and finish up if you got anything left on how to fix the DCU.
Yeah, I think that's the way they're going to do it because Snyder is nowhere near the level that Feige operates at, and Feige is what's holding the Marvel Cinematic Universe together.
Mm-hmm.
DC tried to play catch up and do what Feige did in 5 movies in 2 movies.
Right.
It can't be done. So no, they don't know. They don't have the patience because they couldn't. You gotta lay the foundation with good movies and Thor 1, to get that foundation down, and then you do your Avengers. You don't jump into the Justice League second movie and Batman v Superman and then Justice League. It's no.
Or you just jump into the Justice League without trying to hold our hands about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's I don't know if y'all ever seen this, but Justice League War was kind of like the New 52 reboot for the animated movies, and it was basically we're in New 52 now. Here are your characters, And like it was an interesting setup. They had all the characters come together. You know, they had Batman show his Batmanness, like, oh yeah, you're Hal Jordan, you're Barry Allen, and like, how do you know that? I'm a fucking Batman, I know shit.
Right.
And they had
what was it? Green Lantern was like, oh, I thought you were a bat, like a real bat or something.
Yeah, he thought you were a real bat.
Yeah. It was fun.
And it gave pretty much everybody like their room to shine and why their powers are important in the team, but also gave them like Darkseid from the jump. So it was a reason why they needed to come together, because it was Darkseid. It wasn't fucking Steppenwolf. Who gives a shit about him? Like it was actual Darkseid and his parademons and freaking open up, boom gates and shit and coming in to fucking destroy the world. So it's not like you have to build these things up, because as I said, we know Batman, we know Wonder Woman, we know Superman. Maybe you want to do a little thing about Martian Manhunter, but the Flash, Aquaman, we don't really need to know what they're all about. We don't really need to know where they come from. We just need to know what their powers are, what their personalities are, and how they all fit together to fight off the big bad thing. And that's like, and you can, it's not easy.
You need an origin.
Yeah.
The world doesn't know Booster Gold like comic.
Well, Booster Gold will need an origin story, but a Booster Gold origin
story
could be fun, because it could be like it's time travel, so you don't have to start at the beginning of the story. You can start at any part of the story. So
you stole my idea, because when I was writing about how I would change it, the first character I came to, I was thinking of it. Booster Gold is how I would reboot the whole franchise. I'll reboot the whole franchise with Booster Gold, and the fact there's time travel involved. Start the whole first 30, 35, 40 minutes of the movie showing how Booster Gold is a wannabe hero. He's a loser. But it being, and I stole this from the Flash TV show, being a mark that like the Justice League basically get killed in the past. And so it spawned a whole movement of these younger heroes from trying to take the spot. And Booster Gold's in that younger hero group that's trying to like figure out how to be like the next great hero, but he's a poser. But then I would have started with him, give him his villain, run his movie. But at the end of the movie, introduce the Blue Beetle, Jaime. I want my Latino representation, but Jaime in is the Blue Beetle, and then that leads into the next one. And basically, you'll build this B team of DC heroes, all like the Avengers were, into like the new Justice League. But then I would say eventually, so I would get Booster Gold, we would get Blue Beetle. I would get like Dick Grayson eventually as like a leader of them, like because he was close with Batman and he knew blah blah blah. So I would get Dick Grayson in there. I would bring in people, even if he would be harder to do, but a Beast Boy movie would be harder, but figure out how to make that work out too as well. And just make this, hodgepodge group of heroes. And then my next nexus point would be like, after they get to join together, they fight whatever threat, make it Starro or something like that. So that it's goofy enough, but fun enough, which I think they're going to do Starro in the next Suicide Squad. So we may not be able to have it, but have them like get Starro somebody, they fight off them, and then like, the next one has like, they do sequels for everybody. And then the next one, the second Justice League, or I guess would be third at this point, will be a situation where they have to fight Darkseid and they realize like, shit, then I'm going to steal from the Avengers. They have to go back in time and fix the nexus point of the Justice League being destroyed so that the Justice League can help stave off this threat. And then we can play with the time shenanigans and we can go back to fucked up parts of the DC universe and Booster Gold and all them funny, like fix the shit and make it like make Wonder Woman 84 and that suck. And
oh my God.
That, going through the timeline, and it kind of makes like that. Also, I feel like once you get fixed that Justice League, you can shoot that original one with Booster Gold in them off into the Legends. So you can start a whole other franchise with them being the Legends of Tomorrow, because that's what they're already doing time shenanigans or whatever. But then now you set back your real Justice League back in the right accordance and you move forward. But I think I'm like you. I think Booster Gold would be the best way to go, because he is funny enough and silly enough. It's kind of like the Shazam movie, but more adult. And you can kind of get away with the fact that like he's not a good hero. So it kind of gives him that underdog, believability, like make him come to the end of the movie that he figures out, okay, I can be a hero and it's not for the money, blah, blah, blah. And then he can meet Jaime and be like, that could set up to the next movie. Because I think they're actually trying to do a Blue Beetle movie with Jaime, but I think Jaime is like gold, because you get the whole talking beetle. That's all like, you can pretty much play Jaime like you play Peter Parker. Yeah. Like how Peter Parker's his suit had the whole kill mode and all that with Iron Man. How makes Beatles pretty much the same way. Like
A little bit more murders.
Do you want me to eliminate it? Like, yeah. So, but yeah, I think Booster Gold is the way, because that way you can get time travel involved, and that way you can kind of fix and retcon all that bullshit. Or my last one was that you just do Flashpoint and you can wipe away all that shit in one movie and pretend like it never happened, and just do Flashpoint, and then you can get all the heroes back the way you want them, because whatever Barry Allen did, he fucked up the timeline, and now everything changed, and these heroes, Superman's actually not a broody bitch, and Batman actually, didn't lose Robin when we did off camera and off screen. Who the fuck does that, Zack Snyder? Really? One of the biggest things of Batman's mythology, you do off screen. Like, no one knows about, no one hears about, you just see the suit. Like, give me a fucking break. Like,
at least he mentioned Robin, though, all right? Like, a lot of times they're like, oh, Robin, like, he's like the redheaded stepchild. They don't want to even, like, mention, like, one of the best superheroes in the DC universe. They kind of keep like, him as in the closet. Like, Robin is awesome. At least he mentioned him, and he wasn't a 40-year-old man. Like, oh, my parents died. Chris, well, I can't remember the last name, but you're like 30. Who cares? Go get a job.
Oh, you want a Chris O'Donnell?
We're in the 2020s. It's hard to sell a boy in tights now, running around with an old man. I'm just saying, there's a lot of questions that can be asked.
You can age them up to about
not
17.
like a child, but you can do like a teenager, like someone who's like 15, 16, who's got like, angst and anger, who's all like, oh, woe is me. I want to beat up everybody. You have, Bruce Wayne, who's nothing but angst and anger, trying to like stop him from being like a murderous thug, and rather just like say, hey, you can channel your energy into a more, I wouldn't say more constructive, but a less destructive way. Right. Instead of killing people, just put them in the hospital. It's better.
Well, yeah, I mean, hell, you could just start with Jason Todd being the Robin then, and just run that Red Hood story pretty much, and just have an adult Dick Grayson be part of it. Like, again, we don't need origin stories for these guys. Like, if people don't know who these people are, we have a thing called Google. People can find their backstories very easily. Like, I don't know anybody's going to walk into a superhero movie and not know.
You can just hint to it. You can just, it's called dialogue. It's called, like, hey, I haven't seen you in 5 years. Where you been, Dick? He's like, oh, I've been in Bloodhaven. You have this be a part of the storyline. Like, Dick Grayson hasn't been around, but he used to work with Batman. He used to go by Robin. It doesn't have to be like, let's do a whole movie about where Robin came from and why Jason Todd's mad or anything like that. You can do it all in the same movie. You just don't make that the primary focus of the story. It's not. I mean, obviously, I don't do it, so it probably is rocket science, but it's not rocket science. Right?
It isn't hard. So I guess in closing notes, do we think the DC universe will turn itself around, Jarren?
To your point earlier, Jason, that would have to be one hell of a time heist to fix Wonder Woman 84.
One hell of a time heist.
Don't know if that could.
First, you gotta talk to her about consent and what that means.
Oh my God, she definitely like mind control raped that dude.
That's maybe in Themyscira they don't have to worry about consent, but here in America, that's a big deal nowadays.
Big deal.
You should.
What was the point? You had a wish. It was a wish. Just fucking make him blink into existence.
Next episode, we can go all into on this movie, please, because I have so many notes.
I'll put that in my notes. One Woman 84.
Secret, because Batman didn't know about her, had to find her out later, found out about her, So they
only had a picture of her from 1911. And it's like, dude, she's running around 80s DC. Like, someone got a picture of her.
That's why she took her tiara off or whatever and hit a security camera.
They're attached to videotapes. She didn't destroy the videotapes. She destroyed the camera.
Not in the 80s. It was just fake video tapes and cameras there.
After that happened, they're pulling the tapes.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Got to check that shit out.
Like, did you see this?
Wearing what she was wearing, you definitely want to check that out.
Yeah.
So, Jason, any hope? Y'all got any hope in fixing it?
I have hope in the next Batman movie. I have hope in the next Suicide Squad movie. But after that, I have no hope. I mean, they're just. I mean, it's AT&T at this point, and AT&T is probably one of the greediest, most I don't give a fuck about the consumer companies of all time. Like, I got them and they be fucking me up on my bill every month. They don't care about anything. They just want their dollars and cents. So they will put their fingers in anything that they feel like they need to put their fingers into. So I have no hope. But hopefully the next 2 movies will be good. I don't know.
I'm right there with you. I think it's done. I think they need to go ahead and put this to bed and start all over again. Well, that is before we leave real quick, me and Jarren talked about it. Better Avatar, Korra or Aang?
You'll get me beat up. Korra, 100%.
Thank you.
You're going to get me beat up, man. I can't say that stuff out loud.
Hey, I say it all the time, Korra's the better Avatar.
I was a big fan of Juan.
I'm also a big fan of Juan as well. Juan is awesome.
Okay, next show, we're ranking top. Our next show then. Peace.
Korra's number one.
Yeah. You know, Aang, Korra's, Juan's, and
Roku,
Kiyoshi's, and and Roku. Oh yeah, so we got top 5 avatars. We'll rank next for the beginning of the show next week.
You got the surfing waterbender guy whose wife's face got stolen by Ko, and he was a relaxed.
We know he's dead last. Come on, we know he's dead last. He even said he was dead last. He was like, "No, I wasn't a good avatar. Don't ask for my advice." Next. That joker was like, "Yeah, nah, I sucked at my job. I was out trying to surf, my man. Surf and get babes. You need to ask for these other ones."
Okay. The waterbender being a surfer, that's like match made in heaven. It's like, oh, there's no swells. There's going to be swells.
All right, next episode, we're going to rank avatars. Then we're going to let Jasen air out his griefs on Wonder Woman 84. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Again, please remember to like, share, subscribe to Headcanon Circus on Facebook, YouTube. We're on all DSPs, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM. You can find us everywhere. So please join us. Please comment. Maybe it's something that you watching that you're loving that you think we should review or talk about. We'll talk about it. Jarren will bring his notes and dissect it. We will do that. Jarren, anything you want to say to anybody before we get off?
Thanks for having me, man. Had a blast.
Yeah, man. Jarren's in Home Alone, man. He's Macaulay Culkin this weekend. Jasen, about you? Anything you want to say to anybody?
Just be kind to one another. That's all.
Hey, greatest words to end on, guys. We will see you all next week. We out of here. Peace.